Welcome to episode 470 of the Selling Your Screenplay podcast. I'm Ashley Scott Meyers, screenwriter and blogger over at sellingyourscreenplay.com. Today I am interviewing Anubys Lopez. He is a Texas filmmaker who just did a cool horror film called Those Who Call. He got his start with YouTube, making horror shorts for the YouTube platform. So we talk a little bit about that as well, and then we go into depth on this new horror film. So stay tuned for that interview. SYS's six-figure screenplay contest is open for submissions. Just go to www.sellingyourscreenplay.com/contest. Our early bird deadline is March 31st, so if your script is ready, definitely submit now to save some money. We're looking for low-budget shorts and features. I'm defining low budget as less than six figures, in other words, less than $1 million US. We've got lots of industry judges reading scripts in the later rounds. We're giving away thousands in cash and prizes. We've had a number of options and sales from the contest, and this is only our fourth year, so we're getting a nice bit of traction with these scripts. There's always lots of producers looking for high quality, low budget scripts. So if you do have a script that fits this criteria, please do submit it. Again, you can find information and the submission form at sellingyourscreenplay.com/contest. If you find this episode valuable, please help me out by giving me a review in iTunes or leaving a comment on YouTube or retweeting the podcast on Twitter or liking or sharing it on Facebook. These social media shares really do help spread word about the podcast, so they're very much appreciated. Any websites or links that I mention in the podcast can be found on my blog in the show notes. I also publish a transcript with every episode in case you'd rather read the show or look at something later on. You can find all the podcast show notes at www.sellingyourscreenplay.com/podcast, and then look for episode number 470. If you want my free guide, How to Sell a Screenplay in 5 Weeks, you can pick that up by going to sellingyourscreenplay.com/guide. It's completely free. You just put in your email address and I'll send you a new lesson once per week for 5 weeks, along with a bunch of bonus lessons. I teach the whole process of how to sell a screenplay in that guide. I'll teach you how to write a professional logline and career letter and how to find agents, managers, and producers who are looking for material. Really is everything you need to know to sell your screenplay. Just go to sellingyourscreenplay.com/guide. So now let's get into the main segment. Today I am interviewing writer, director Anubys Lopez. Here is the interview. Welcome, Anubys, to the Selling Your Screenplay podcast. I really appreciate you coming on the show with me today.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
So to start out, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background. Where did you grow up and how did you get interested in the entertainment business?
So I'm originally from Cuba. I was born in a very small town. I didn't have a lot of access to, movies or anything like that. But I remember watching a couple of movies, horror movies when I was little, and they kind of, I got intrigued by them, and it was kind of something new, I guess, for me. And I just pretty much started liking them from that moment on. Then when I moved to the US, I kind of started getting more into it and watching more horror movies and like all of that. And that's pretty much what got my attention.
Gotcha. Where did you end up in the United States when you came over from Cuba? What part of this country were you in?
I came to Houston. Yeah. So that's currently where I reside as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So then talk about that. So now you're in Houston, you're a film fan. What were some of these steps to actually turning this into a career? Did you go to film school? Did you work on some friends' shorts? Just take us through some of those early stages of actually going from just basically a fan who likes horror films to someone that's actually in the business.
Yeah. So I pretty much started on YouTube way back in the day. I was one of the first I started YouTube in 2008, so that was a long time ago. One of the first YouTube channels, pretty much.
Wow.
I did YouTube for 10 years, and I was one of the first very lucky people that was accepted into the YouTube partnership program. So I would make a lot of like little horror shorts and all the type of stuff and work with my friends and like all of that. Nothing too big, obviously. It was just, for fun. And then it kind of like went on from there. And it became my full-time job, and I did it for a while till 2017. And then from there, we kind of like, started, me and my wife, we started an events company. And when COVID hit, we were pretty much out of work.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, hey, what can we do to, kind of get out there again? And I was like, well, let's go back to making horror films, And this time we had a little bit of a bigger budget to make something that wasn't just a short film. So that's pretty much how everything happened.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's a great story. That's fascinating. So is your YouTube channel still available? Can people go and check out some of those shorts?
So no, I actually sold my YouTube channel in 2017, so I no longer have any access
Oh,
to it. Yeah,
huh.
so and they actually ended up deleting the videos for some reason. So they just decided to do their own thing. My YouTube channel was something called an MCN, which would bring like other channels into YouTube, and you were able to like monetize them without them having to get approved through the partnership program. So
Oh,
they
okay.
wanted to use it more as a platform to monetize other channels, and they, I guess, didn't want to really keep my stuff on there. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so it's no longer you can't find it anywhere,
Hmm.
unfortunately.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. So, well, then let's dig into your latest film, Those Who Call. Maybe to start out, you can just give us a picture log line. What is this new film all about?
So the story is pretty much about two sisters that are trying to reconnect and get together after a lot of years of them not being, not seeing each other. Their father dies, so they're trying to pretty much get over that loss and go on a trip together. And yeah, it goes from there. It's a situation of them being in the wrong place at the wrong time,
Hmm.
and a lot of bad things happen to them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's the genesis of this story? Where did this idea come from?
So funny story. This is actually, in a way, a true story. What happened was me and my wife, we were going to Colorado for just a little trip to, clear our heads and just enjoy the a little vacation together. On the second day that we were driving there, obviously me being a little stubborn, I didn't want to, rest and sleep. So I just kept driving and she was asleep in the passenger seat. And all I remember, I don't know how it happened. All I remember is me waking up and we were in the middle of the woods and we were driving, just hitting random branches everywhere. And it was the creepiest thing that has ever happened to me. I just kind of woke up and I'm like, whoa, what happened? And she woke up and they're like, hey, where are we? And I'm like, we're actually lost. Like, I don't know where we are. And we didn't have signal or anything. So
Wow.
uh, instantly when it happened, I was like, this would make a pretty good horror movie, and yeah, we managed to get out of there and find the road and all of that. But I just pretty much told her, like, how cool would it be if we actually, make this into a film? What
Hmm.
if they wouldn't? What if we wouldn't have actually found out how to get out of there, and the
Hmm.
main road? So yeah, so that's what happened.
Gotcha. So there's sort of a tried and true formula, sort of the fish out of water, the city folk going to this country folk area. How do you take a story like this and, make it your own, give it some originality? There's obviously other stories that are similar, but what did you do? What was sort of your template or what was sort of your strategy for making this feel more original or different from some of the other films that have similar premises?
Yeah, so I feel like, well, in my case, personally, I included a lot of little folklore that I knew from back home, like little hints here and there, like the coconuts that are hanging on the trees. Those are used in brujeria, which is like a sort of witchcraft that they do back in Cuba, and I kind of included that in there to make it seem like the story was mainly about that, and that was the what the cult was about witchcraft. I just feel like maybe you just need to look within yourself and kind of like what your background is, the things that you know about,
Hmm.
uh, maybe where you're coming from, little things like that that you can include in there to kind of make it your own.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's the best way that I can
Yeah, yeah,
describe
yeah. No, sound advice for sure. So let's just talk about your writing process for a little bit. What does your writing process look like? Do you write in the morning? Do you write at night? Do you have a home office? It looks like you have a home office here, but do you need to
it.
go to Starbucks and have that ambient noise? Just talk about your actual writing process, and we can be specific with those who call. What did that writing process look like with this screenplay?
Yeah, so that one was actually written during COVID because we were kind of locked down, we didn't have anywhere to go.
Hmm.
And usually, what I do is I write at night, and I usually like telling people or like joking about the fact that horror movies are written during winter and they're shot during summer because
Hmm.
that's usually when it's more calm or I guess cold. You got to stay inside. There's not much to do, to go outside. But in my case, I always write at night. I try to do it like around 8 or 9 when it's, when I'm already done with the day. I like to somewhat dim the lights, get into the atmosphere. I'm kind of hard to focus sometimes, so I don't like any noise. So I
Hmm.
kind of tell my wife, like, like you go do your own thing, and I'll be here for the
Uh-huh.
next couple of hours, just kind of writing. And when I don't do it in the office, just the writing in the office, I do it on my laptop. But I try to like kind of just keep away from everybody, just sit by myself, and just kind of focus on the story.
Hmm.
Sometimes I do wear like a earplugs because I don't like getting disturbed. But if not, I just try to stay away away from civilization as much as I can because I feel like I can focus better that way.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's pretty much how I do it.
Gotcha. So, what does your outlining phase look like? Do you spend many, many weeks and months just outlining, index carding, and then you open Final Draft and write script pages? Just give us some breakdown. How does that break out for you? How much time do you spend with preparation? How much time do you actually spend writing script pages?
Yeah, so pretty much the way that I find is better for me personally. I don't know if it works for everybody like this, but for me personally, when I'm thinking of ideas, just either a personal situation where something happened and I go like, huh, I could include that in there. Or maybe just talking about something, or maybe just watching a movie and being like, oh wow, like maybe something similar could go in my script. What I do is I just pull out my phone and I wrote on my notes like the main ideas. For the last couple of scripts, what I've done is pretty much I have the beginning of how I want the film to start, and kind of like the main points of it, like where it's gonna go pretty much. And then once I have everything kind of just broken down on like parts of the film, how it's gonna be, then I actually take it into Final Draft, and then I make the actual script, like just break it down more in details, like dialogue and pretty much everything else. But I go with pretty much the main ideas first, so I know where to go with it.
Yeah, gotcha. And what does your development process look like? So, you wrote this script. It sounds like your wife was involved. So, do you give it to her to get notes? Do you have some actor friends? Do you have some other writer friends? Just what does that look like for you? How do you develop the script? How do you do rewrites?
Yeah, so I have a couple of pretty awesome people that I work with. So my wife definitely, she's the first one that I show it to, because she likes to kind of like see what I came up with, and
Mm-hmm.
she'll be very sincere and be like, no, this is crap, or or like, hey, this doesn't sound too well, or sometimes when she reads something and it scares her and she's like, oh, this is kind of creepy, then I kind of know, because she's very hard to scare. But after I'm pretty much done with the first draft, give or take, I send it to our script supervisor, which is the same person that was there on Those Who Call, and with my last film as well. And she pretty much looks it over, and she's very good at like story development, and pretty much grammar, all that type of stuff. And she'll look it over, tell me what she thinks, and then I have someone that works with us as well, and he's an agent, and he's been like representing me and helping me out with a lot of things. And I once I have a well written kind of script, not 100% there, but something that's pretty good, I send it to him, and then he'll kind of look it over and tell me from his perspective, because obviously he knows a lot more than I do. So he'll tell me what works and what doesn't. And from a selling perspective, he'll be able to also tell me like, hey, maybe you can get rid of this, or maybe you can add more of this, different
Mm-hmm.
things pretty much.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
So how do you approach screenplay structure and just sort of genre requirements in general? You're doing a horror, but on the structure question, there's the sort of the Sid Field, Blake Snyder, where they have these very clearly delineated, plot points and stuff. There's maybe a more intuitive thing where you're not leaning quite into those. But just what's your approach to screenplay structure?
Okay, yeah. So I usually watch other films that are within the same genre to kind of get a feel for
Hmm.
what I'm trying to do, and get ideas here and there. Obviously, nothing too similar to what they've done. But I usually, most of my preparation just comes from inside my head, honestly. Like I just think of a lot of creepy stuff and real life scenarios, things that happen here and there. Um, but a lot of times also with um, like ideas that I see with like random posters or uh, like pictures from like creepy like deserted places and all of that. I can kind of like put it together and be like, oh, wouldn't it be weird if this and that happened in this place? And that's how I just
Hmm.
go about it. I don't know if that answered your
Yeah,
question.
yeah, no, 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 it does. Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. Okay, so once you had your script sort of whipped into shape, it was what you wanted. What were those next steps to actually getting it produced? How did you actually get it together and get it into production?
So that one specifically, Those Who Call, since it was my very first film, I self-funded it myself. So I just kind of my director of photography, he's like my brother. We've been working together for a lot of years on the events and the whole YouTube stuff. So we just pretty much sat down and came up with like the shot list and a storyboard and pretty much everything that we thought would work best. Um, and since it's self-funded, I didn't really have to go through, any
Hmm.
other like executive producers or any other process to fund the film. Um, but once we had it and we had it where we wanted it to go, we just kind of broke it down on what we can do, what day, and like all of that. And then from there, we just went into casting pretty much.
Hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't the most complicated process because back then it was COVID time, so we couldn't really do much. You
Hmm.
know, but yeah, that's how pretty much how we did it.
Did you shoot this in Houston, the outlining
Yeah.
area?
Yeah, so we shot it very close to Houston. It was in a town called Magnolia, so it's kind of like more in the woods.
Hmm.
And we also shot a lot of it in Sam Houston National Forest, which is the biggest forest in the Houston area. And where else do we shoot it? In Kenny, Texas. So it's another town a little bit leaving Houston, more towards the south.
Hmm.
So we shot it more on that side of town. So it wasn't really towards like in the Houston area, but more around that area. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, gotcha, gotcha. So, okay, so once you guys had your film shot and through post production, what were your next steps actually getting this movie out there? I'm curious. Did you go to film festivals, and then ultimately, you came to me through a publicist that I think Keith over at Uncorked uses? But how did you end up? Did you do festivals? How did you end up ultimately getting distribution with Uncorked?
Yeah. So it was a it was kind of a complicated process because I knew nothing about
Hmm.
distribution or anything like that. Like we shot this film because we love making films and we shot it for fun and just to it was one of my goals in life pretty much. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it and
Hmm.
I don't know where it's gonna end up, but I'll do it, because it's fun and I
Hmm.
want to do it. And we shot it, and then once we were done with it, we actually had that. My friend came up to me and he's like, "Okay, so what are you gonna do for distribution?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, I thought I could just distribute it myself, you know."
Hmm.
And I come to find out that's a very hard process, and
Yeah.
it's not as simple as you think. So I had someone that had distributed a film with Encore, and he had done a couple of films with them, and he recommended me to them. Um, However, Encore at the beginning they didn't want to take the film. Obviously, as a first time filmmaker,
Hmm.
there's a process to it. It's very complicated. So we actually, when we had a distribution in mind and we knew that we could possibly get somewhere with it, we went back and we reshot some things. We shot a couple of extra scenes, like the beginning scenes that you see in the film. Those were all shot after we shot the actual film. We reshot some scenes. we went back and fixed a couple of things. And yeah, I pretty much, started Googling distributors and contacting a lot of these distributors. And um, some of them wanted the film, some of them didn't want the film. And I came very close to signing other deals that were not with Uncorked, but I wanted to work with them because I knew that they do a good job and that I was going to be safe with them. Uh, so eventually the conversation just kind of like restarted again, and I sent them a new screener, and they're like, okay, well, we can work with this one. And then yeah, it pretty much went from there. It was a long process because this was shot in 2020, by the way. So it's been 3 years. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was a long process. As a first-time filmmaker, I made a lot of mistakes,
Hmm.
and we did a lot of things that we now know not to do, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
sure.
yeah, but yes, it was a long process, but we managed to get it working with Uncork. They were very nice,
Hmm.
and they actually have October Coast, which is the people that do
Hmm.
the publicity. So they've been nothing but supportive, very very understanding,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's how we got
Yeah, that's
to.
great. Yeah, so
Yeah.
just to wrap things up, I'm curious, just what are some of the lessons that you've learned from this, from making this movie? Can you distill, and especially just on sort of the screenwriting front, are there any lessons you really come away with this project?
Yeah, absolutely. We've learned so much from this film since it was our first film. From a script writing perspective, I would say uh, character development is very important when it comes to a script. So maybe in my own in my own perspective, I should have had more of a backstory on a lot of these characters, and also a lot of the scenes, a lot of the dialogue was a little bit repetitive, so I would have changed it up a little bit more. They usually always tell you that one page on script equals to like around 1 minute of
Hmm.
screen time. So I would say to be very careful with dialogue and don't make it too repetitive, and also make sure that when it comes to emotions, you're able to describe it. I guess easier, so the actors are able to interpret it better. I guess, yeah, that's
I'm
my
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great answer. I'm
advice.
curious, all of this experience doing YouTube, like it seems to me that's one of the great things about YouTube or TikTok or any of these platforms. You can put something out and you get feedback almost immediately. Were there some lessons there that you can impart to us as you made these horror shorts on your YouTube channel? Were there some things that surprised you, some things that maybe worked well with an audience that maybe you were surprised, and some things that you thought were going to work well with an audience but maybe didn't work so well with an audience? But just in general, are there some things that you can sort of take away from your YouTube experience doing these shorts and putting them out there?
Yeah, I think it's very important as a filmmaker. If you're not ready to do a feature, just and you want to create, just put it out there because people can give you a lot of good feedback. There's a lot of, like, when I started, I did a lot of like found footage and all of that because it was easier to make, it was less expensive, and I noticed that some people were liking it, but a lot of people like I said, like the character development and seeing a little bit of the stories, the backstories of a lot of these characters. Um, I think it's important to just whatever you have to just get it out there, even if it's a short and it's
Mm-hmm.
not a feature. Yeah, I don't know what
I
else
think
to
that's great. No, I think
say.
that's great advice. Exactly. Just getting stuff out there.
Yeah,
I'm all
even if
about
you're not
that. So
ready, yeah,
yeah,
even if you're
yeah,
not ready, just kind of get it out there.
yeah. So, what have you seen recently that you think maybe screenwriters could get some value out? Is there anything out there you're watching, HBO, Netflix, Hulu, anything you're watching that you think screenwriters might really benefit from checking out?
Yeah, I recently watched one of A24's films, Pearl.
Oh,
I love
okay.
A24, so I'm very into them. And I think the script for that one, because you can actually find the script online, and I love just kind of like looking and looking for
Mm-hmm.
all these like scripts and all of that. The script for that one is very entertaining to read, and I feel like a lot of people could be interested in reading it, because it could help you um, to write your own. It's a very well made movie. I feel like it was very well shot as well, and the whole story of it was very well done. So
Mhm.
definitely give it a shot.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation. How can people see your film, those who call? What's the release schedule going to be like on that?
So the Those Who Call is already streaming on all major platforms, pretty much except for like Netflix and Hulu, like the main ones.
Yeah.
But it's streaming right now on Prime Video, on Vudu, on YouTube. It's streaming on Google TV, Apple TV. Those are pretty much the main ones. So for the next 90 days, it'll be streaming on that, and then after that, it'll go like on Tubi and the ad supported like networks, pretty
Gotcha,
much.
gotcha. What's the best way for people to keep up with what you're doing? Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anything you're comfortable sharing, I will put in the show notes.
Yeah, so we have an Instagram, and it's Hero House Films, and then I also have my personal one, which is Anubys.Lopez, and then I also have a Twitter, so under the same name, Anubys Lopez. So that will be the best way to kind of keep up with everything and seeing everything.
Gotcha, gotcha. Perfect. Well, Anubis, I really appreciate your coming on and talking with me today. Good luck with this film and good luck with all your future projects as well.
Thank you for having me, man. It's been a
Hey, thank
pleasure.
you. Yeah, thank you. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, thank you, man.
I just want to talk quickly about SYS Select. It's a service for screenwriters to help them sell their screenplays and get writing assignments. The first part of the service is the SYS Select Screenplay Database. Screenwriters upload their screenplays along with a logline, synopsis, and other pertinent information like budget and genre, and then producers search for and hopefully find screenplays they want to produce. Dozens of producers are in the system looking for screenplays right now. There have been a number of success stories come out of the service. You can find out about all the SYS Select successes by going to sellingyourscreenplay.com/success. Also on SYS podcast episode 222, I talked with Steve Deering, who was the first official success story to come out of the SYS Select database. When you join SYS Select, you get access to the screenplay database along with all the other services that we're providing to SYS Select members. These services include the newsletter. This monthly newsletter goes out to a list of over 400 producers who are actively seeking writers and screenplays. Each SYS Select member can pitch one screenplay in this monthly newsletter. We also provide screenwriting leads. We have partnered with one of the premier paid screenwriting leads services, so I can syndicate their leads to SYS Select members. There are lots of great paid leads coming in each week from our partner. Recently, we've been getting 5 to 10 high-quality paid leads per week. These leads run the gamut. There's producers looking for a specific type of spec script to producers looking to hire a screenwriter to write up one of their ideas or properties. They're looking for shorts, features, TV, and web series pilots, all types of projects. If you sign up for SYS Select, you'll get these leads emailed directly to you several times per week. Also, you get access to the SYS Select forum, where we will help you with your logline and query letter and answer any screenwriting related questions that you might have. We also have a number of screenwriting classes that are recorded and available in the SYS Select forum. These are all the classes that I've done over the years, so you'll have access to those whenever you want once you join. The classes cover every part of writing your screenplay, from concept to outlining to the first act, second act, third act, as well as other topics like writing short films and pitching your projects in person. Once again, if this sounds like something you'd like to learn more about, please go to sellingyourscreenplayselect.com. Again, that is sellingyourscreenplayselect.com. On the next episode of the podcast, I'm going to be interviewing Canadian writer-director Jason Eisner, who's done a number of horror feature films, but his latest film is a cool horror sci-fi film called Kids vs. Aliens. Talk about his career, how he got into the business, and then ultimately how this movie Kids vs. Aliens came about. So keep an eye out for that episode next week. That's our show. Thank you for listening.